Alright, it's the year 2019, and as Agent 47 does his work in the background, we're all riding our high-tech motorcycles around, hunting replicants and waiting for the world to go full Tetsuo.
Will you just look at the time?
As we all know, adding the year 2019 to the end of anything automatically makes it futuristic. Next thing you know, it'll be 2020 and we'll be taking out our crowbars, fighting the Combine, and trying to destroy the Matrix while Derek Stiles saves us all from Neo-Guilt. Though in the meantime, we'll be taking our rocket cars down the highway at 341 kilometers an hour, because that's just what people do in 2019 when they have somewhere to be. Well, at least in Japan. In Europe, it's 682 kilometers an hour, because 341 almost seemed reasonable. In America, in a classic case of serial escalation, bumped it up to 682 miles per hour, which you might argue is just an easy way to change the units of speed across the pond, but I think it was so they could stick blurbs on the back of the box that they thought would make the game sell better, like, if you have to sneeze, do it on the straightaways. And in the 21st century, if you're doing 200 miles per hour, you're just holding up traffic. Because I definitely clock over 200 miles an hour in my Pontiac Vibe in this, the 21st century, as to not hold up traffic. It's basically a requirement in the year of our Lord 2019 that our cars go at least 300, otherwise you may as well not even be on the road. Still, my vote's on the Japanese box art being the most hardcore, as we have the playable car yeeting itself off an unfinished bridge, because if going through a construction zone is the fastest way through, then that's just the route we're going to take. And yes, this is very accurate to how the game plays. Don't worry about that unfinished road, just put a ramp there and jump over it. Even in 2019 they still have construction on Kellogg. That's just a universal truth here. Not even a joke, I think Route 54 and 400 have been in a constant state of half-finished construction as long as I've been alive, along with Interstate 35. Well, at least we have roads, and it's not the eldritch monstrosities of Texas, or Rhode Island where a quarter of the bridges are crumbling. Maybe that's what's going on in the Japanese box art. It's just the average Rhode Island commute in a rocket car. Where was I going with this? Right, OutRun 2019. Despite it not being developed by the same people as the main OutRun series, it actually plays pretty close to an OutRun game. Maybe not quite as smooth or polished, but there's no control problems and the game reacts nice and snappy. You'd think this would be in the middle of the OutRun series' 6 games. Yes, the main OutRun series had 6 games, 3 arcade games and 3 console-only games. This was released in March of 1993, meaning this was the 7th and last OutRun game up until OutRun 2 in 2003. Why they decided that one was the sequel and not any of the others, I'll never know. At the time, this was the only OutRun game I'd played, other than the home port of the original. We didn't really get advanced arcades here, or at least I didn't get to go to them before they started dying off. I have played the others since then, though, and looking back, OutRun 2019 isn't the best game in the lineup, but it is worth playing. You can see bits of inspiration from all the other OutRun games in here, and it even tries some things that none of the other ones do. The game has a strange development history, though. It was originally going to be a Sega CD game called Cyber Road. Then someone went, wait, that's a stupid idea, and moved it to the Genesis under the name Junkers High. Whether this is a high school for junkers or a junker having a high, I really don't know. There's a beta under this name which is quite interesting for a reason I'll get to later. Then, seemingly late in development, the decision was made to just make it a futuristic OutRun game, because that's basically what it is. You have the branching paths of OutRun, the multiple courses of OutRunners, well, sort of. Instead of branching off at the beginning, you get 4 different tracks to choose from with a total of 30 routes between them, putting it right up there with OutRunners and OutRun 2006 Coast to Coast. It also has a turbo feature, like Turbo OutRun. Sort of. If you hold top speed long enough, you activate a rocket booster, which is usually a surefire way to send yourself careening off the road unless you know the tracks very well, and the huge delay it has makes it almost impossible to use effectively unless you're really familiar with the course layout. I know the delay doesn't seem like that long, but when some of the routes twist like they do at this speed, it feels like forever. I prefer the Turbo OutRun or Super Hang-On approach, just give me a turbo boost button. You might think that it's an OutRun game, it's not that hard to memorize the track. Well, the tracks like to diverge within each route too. That's right, even outside the normal forks there's alternate paths and shortcuts. Some parts of the track operate on 2 different altitudes. It's actually quite interesting, and I've never seen any other OutRun game do that, before or since. Rhode Island Rocket Car Commute Simulator is also quite hard for an OutRun game, and there's a mix of things at play there. The diverging tracks and the delayed and easily cancelled boost play a role, but so does the traffic. The traffic loves to switch between lanes so much you'd think you were driving in Seattle. Yes, I've been there once and it was terrifying. Not sure if me not being the one driving made it better or worse, but I digress. It's still quite possible to finish with 20, 30, or even more seconds to spare, but that's on near flawless runs, and there's plenty of ways to hit slowdowns and crash, which is very easy to do when you're trying to Kansei Drifto your way over that winding transparent aluminum bridge, and any full crash is going to cost you several seconds. That's the biggest factor in my opinion. There's plenty of roads you can just fall off of, and that's a full crash right there. Sure, there's stuff on the side of the road you can hit, but that's true of any OutRun game. Though for being a game about the future of 2019, the backgrounds aren't terribly interesting, and neither is the music. Not to say either is bad, it's just that nothing really grabs your attention, even if it is all rather nicely done. I think the part I remember most is the menu screens with the renderings of your car that look straight out of a PC 98 game. You know, that thing that Police Knots was released on? Now contrast that with OutRun. Those 3 songs will probably never leave my head until the day I die. And maybe part of that is nostalgia, sure, but I played OutRun 2019 as a kid too, and I was hard-pressed to remember much besides the car and the gameplay. Heck, the music menu is a bit hidden. You have to press A, B, and C at the same time when retrying a track or going to a new one. In the original, they throw the music choice at you right from the beginning. They knew they had good songs.
Get ready?
Now, what's one thing that might have increased the replayability of this? How about profiles, a way to keep track of your best times? But wait, I hear you say, it does that, it's all right here. And you would be right. Sort of. Yes, all the framework for it is there, but to cut costs at the last moment, they took out the SRAM of the cartridge. You can find the Junker's High ROM floating around the internet, and if you pop that into an emulator, it will save profiles, times, and even has a spot to save 5 replays. Now that would have been an amazing feature, something no other OutRun game on Genesis would have had. Instead, in the most hilarious feature replacement I've ever seen, they give you this table in the back of the manual. Thanks. You can also pick manual transmission for a little bit more speed. Well, and exploits. You can also set the difficulty, but all that seems to change is how much time the game gives you. So in short, does OutRun 2019 surpass the original? No, not at all. The original is still the best OutRun game you're going to find, at least on the Genesis. It's certainly better than the Outrunners port, but that's a different rant. If you like OutRun games, you'll almost certainly like OutRun 2019. It doesn't have quite the same polish and punch the other games do, but there's enough here that it's still quite the fun little arcade racer. This is Tanara Kuranov, signing off. Till next time.